Welcome back to another episode of Banterly, the podcast where we dissect pop culture with humor, wit, and a Gen Z perspective. I'm Aidan.
And I'm Aditi.
And welcome back. How have you been?
Oh, I've been okay. I don't know if you've fallen under the illness vibe of winter in New York, but I unfortunately have.
Luckily, I have not yet, which normally I get sick kind of frequently.
Yeah.
But I have not been sick in like a month, I think.
Okay, well, we're going to knock on wood.
Knock on wood, please.
Listeners,
I can't be sick. I don't
please.
I don't think I've ever gotten sick since I started work. Like, I've never been, like, working because I can't imagine how it would feel to, like, work from home while being sick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because
I
feel like
great.
everything was Zoom now. Like, you can't have a sick day anymore. They're just like, oh, just work from home.
Just work from home.
Well, my whole job is remote, or even at school, like, there's no more snow days. Just do Zoom class.
Yeah. See, we never had snow days. We had hurricane days in Florida.
Oh.
But I mean, I think sometimes people get lucky and their internet does cut out. So maybe
so true.
they're saved in that way.
Maybe.
But yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, we have lost the ability to escape work and school, thanks to technological innovations.
And the pandemic, which has taught us all how to keep the ball rolling, even if the world is not good. Anyways, should we move on to our question of the day?
That was a dark way to start this off. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Trust me, I feel really happy. I'm so happy.
Life is going really well.
Life is great. Our question of the day today is: name one movie or TV show trope you love, and name one that you hate. Would you like to kick us off?
I don't know if I love it or hate it. I'm honestly confused by it. I don't know if you've noticed. This happens in Pitch Perfect, Donald, if you remember that character.
Classic pun.
I know. Ready for a show?
Come on, baby Bubba. Wait in line. Yep.
You want some of this?
I know you do.
Nice.
Bumper and Donald. Getting it.
And Kevin G and Mean Girls.
Yo. All you sucker MCs ain't got nothing on me. From my grades to my lines, you can't touch Kevin G. I'm a mathlete, so nerd isn't bird, but forget what you heard.
It's just this Indian best
So
friend,
true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like somehow really good at rapping. And like that's their thing, that's their character trait, that they rap. The actor who plays Donald in Pitch Perfect in a Mindy Kaling show, he raps there too. Right? That's such an interesting trope, and I think it's something that was called out to me specifically because I unfortunately can relate to that. Not that I rap, but I
want to drop some bars for us?
Okay, so here's where I've made a mistake. I can't freestyle, but I love rapping. Like I'm known amongst my friends as a person who knows every word to every song, notably rap music as well. So I found it interesting that I'm not unique. Mm-hmm. And this is really reflected in media. So that was one trope that I found to be interesting. And then a trope that I hate, and I do think that it's less common now, but I feel like in a lot of early 2000s movies, I'm mostly thinking about Princess Diaries, there was like the nerdy girl who takes off her glasses and like straightens her frizzy hair, and oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Who would have known?
Polo is exhausted because Majesty, only Polo can take this and give you
a princess.
I grew up with frizzy hair and glasses, so that wasn't good for me, personally.
One thing about those makeover scenes that, I mean, yes, it is tough to see, like, oh, what's viewed as pretty and not pretty, but the music's always banging in those scenes.
No,
the music is always great.
Like, as much as I hate that it happens, they do it well.
They do it well.
They do it well.
Also, the music is banging. I've never said anything's banging before. I don't know why that just came out of my mouth.
I think we're going to have to bring it back. Sometimes it's just
banging.
banging, and that's the only adjective you can use.
Well,
what about you? What tropes do you love and hate?
Well, I love, and this may be controversial because we've come a long way, but I love the gay best friend. I love, like, in High School Musical, Ryan, which I think they've said recently that he was gay. I'm not just projecting that onto him.
Yeah.
They came out and said that. Kurt and Glee with Rachel, Damien and Mean Girls.
Yeah.
And there was even that whole movie called GBF.
You instantly popular. It's simple. The hottest new trend sweeping schools worldwide is the GBF.
It stands for... I know what it stands for.
Gay best friend.
My future GBF is just waiting to come out of the closet and tell me how fierce I am.
Gay best friend.
Yeah.
So it's like a thing. And in the stereotype, they offer great advice, they are hilarious, and they also have a great sense of style. And I could relate to that, kind of like being my friend's friend, to like offer some comedy, offer some advice, relationship advice, even though I've never been in a relationship.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, I have that duty on my shoulders to like be there for my girls, and I feel like I could identify with those characters. And I definitely think when they were introduced, it was just a little token gay just to say that we have a gay, and now there's a lot more shows that are like centered around gay people. They're not just the sidekick. But I think, I don't mind that trope, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. Representation is representation, no matter how sometimes problematic, because of course not all gay people love fashion and have friends or besties with the girls and like the makeovers, but I do.
But you like them, yeah.
Let me live.
It's representation in some way, even if it's not reflective of everyone who identifies with that population, for sure.
Yeah.
That like reminds me of the conversation we had before when we were talking about, in the first episode, talking about Mindy Kaling's shows and how a lot of people were upset about, Indian representation in that. And I do kind of agree representation is representation. It's great that we have these voices out there, but I still stand by what I said earlier, that we just need more gay voices. We need more brown voices, more minority voices.
If you're hiring, just kidding. I love my job, but I would love
Whoever's
to perform.
listening.
So.
Yeah.
But the one that I hate is the black best friend, black sidekick, which might sound like, oh, you like the gay best friend, but you don't like the black best friend. I feel like we've come too far to still have black best friends. I feel like, not to say that gay people haven't existed until now, but like that journey for rights has been a lot more recent than black people's journey for rights. And I feel like at this point, having Ivy from Good Luck Charlie, Dion and Clueless, and Mercedes and Glee, like their only plot point is to support the white protagonist. Like that's all they have going on.
No, absolutely.
Like
no other character built out.
Literally, that's literally it. Ivy was there to support Teddy in her little video diaries. Like there wasn't anything else that she was doing. And I did some research, and it's actually a term called the magical Negro.
The term magical Negro is actually used to describe supporting black characters in movies whose only purpose in the film is to help the white hero.
So literally, that's the definition. Like in media, like they put it in there, put these characters in there just to bring up and lift up the white protagonist, which is, back in the, I don't even know what era. Like, sure, it's good to have black people on TV. It's great, but I feel like at this point, and for gay best friends too, at this point for both of these tropes, there's more stories that can be told, and there are more stories that are being told. So we've come a ways.
So this episode, we're going to be talking about tropes, more specifically, the blonde trope. Blonde hair generally, I feel, has been kind of a symbol of popularity, wealth, beauty for sure. I mean, even without media, like I grew up in Tampa, Florida, and a lot of the people around me were blonde. And I felt that, me being like a tiny brown kid with like super frizzy black hair. Actually, there was one thing that I think about constantly. We had like a story time or something, and like these blonde girls who were also cheerleaders, they kept like playing with my hair, and they kept asking like, oh, what do you do to it? Like, how is your hair so thick and
fluffy and
so fluffy? And I was like, in the moment, I was like, oh my God, they like me. But then I realized that I was really being othered for being the only brown kid in the class and not having blonde hair.
I relate to that. Because I used to have a big afro when I was in elementary school and sometimes in high school, and I got a lot of touches, like, and not even people asked, like, just people coming up and petting my hair. I'm like, you can't just pet your hair. There was a line, and I think it was the show Dear White People, where she was like, does my hair look like a petting zoo to you? Because it's not.
Dear white people, please stop touching my hair. Does this look like a petting zoo to you?
And I dealt with that a lot. People just like, Aidan, can I please touch your hair? Like, what a weird thing to ask somebody.
So
it's my hair.
Like, the personal space or lack thereof, it's almost like feeling like they are owed this experience. Like oh my gosh, this is so different.
Like no, this isn't.
It's not a zoo. Like
the 1700s and 1800s.
Yeah.
Or the 1900s. You can't just put your hands on people that look different than you.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That's absolutely insane. And I'm sorry you had to go through that.
I always wanted to be blonde when I was little. I wanted to be blonde, I wanted to have straight hair, and I wanted to be blonde in particular because Hannah Montana was blonde.
Oh, yeah.
I mentioned that,
Hannah
I think,
Montana fan.
in a previous episode about she's a character that I would want to be, and I wanted a Hannah Montana wig so bad when I was little. I eventually got one.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I had a collection of like 10 wigs when I was little.
Really?
Yes,
oh my gosh, I love that.
Loved to switch
How many
up
of
my
them were
look.
blonde?
Only the Hannah Montana one, I think.
Oh, awesome.
But they were all, there was no quote-unquote ethnic hair. Like, it was just straight, because I wanted hair that I didn't have.
Yeah.
I had braids a lot when I was little, so I
Okay.
kind of got, I was like, I could like move it around, but I wanted like hair that could move. That was one thing. I was like, I want hair that can move, and straight blonde hair that the Hannah Montana wig gave me.
That can move.
It moves, so I totally get how you, with your Tampa, identifying with that, because I wanted to be blonde. And I don't know why I wanted to be blonde. I think I just associate blondness with pop stars and Madonna and Britney Spears and famous, like, you're just blonde. You're the Prince Charming. You have flowing blonde hair. You're a princess. You have long, like, it's like, oh my God, I want to be blonde. It's just hair. It's a hair color, but it has so much power.
Color. It is crazy in the context of Hannah Montana, though, because I personally remember being obsessed with Miley's hair. I was obsessed with, I think, her season 4 hair where she had her extensions and it was so long, but it was like brown. Like I personally was never into the blonde wig. I was like, you have beautiful hair. Why are you covering it up? You know? So I just thought that was an interesting thing that you pointed out, you know, like she is a pop star when she is blonde.
And she's unrecognizable. She puts on that blonde wig and nobody knows.
She transforms entirely. Yeah. So that's very interesting. So I feel like when it comes to blondness in movies, there are some classic movies that come to mind. Legally Blonde.
It's in the name.
Whoa! That was not scripted.
That was not.
We're just on that level. Legally Blonde. Mean Girls, which, musical, hello. And last but not least,
White Chicks.
White Chicks.
Classic film from the Wayans brothers, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
absolutely.
Want to start us off with that, it's all in the name?
All in the name. Legally Blonde.
Oh, if I'm going to be a senator, well, I need to marry a Jackie, not a Marilyn.
So you're breaking up with me because I'm too blonde?
Legally Blonde is a classic movie with Reese Witherspoon. To me, like a quintessential blonde even today. Like she's still jumping around. And I think it's very fascinating that, you know, the whole thing about this movie is Reese Witherspoon, Elle Woods. She is so obsessed with fashion, with beauty, her looks, that it's like, oh, there's no way that you could get into Harvard Law School, or there's no way that you could do really well on your LSAT. And so I think it's very interesting how this movie does try to subvert that stereotype that, like, blondes are dumb and they only care about their appearances. Obviously, this movie is not like a symbol for intersectional feminism because I don't recall any women of color having any prominent roles in this movie. But I do think that it did a really good job of traditional feminism. Like, women are more than their looks, and they can be smart and really successful.
And out of all the movies we're going to talk about today, I feel like this one is the least problematic, in my opinion. I think that even though, like you said, it isn't the perfect portrayal of feminism, but definitely had a good message and less racism than Mean Girls.
So much less racism than Mean Girls. Mean Girls was like, I want to say mostly racist.
Mean Girls
that was a lot of...
is funny, but it's crazy. But I do like Legally Blonde. I think this movie's funny. I think it is iconic in pop culture even today. I feel like if you went as like Elle Woods when she is in that bunny costume,
oh yeah, absolutely,
that's still relevant to this day.
Yeah.
And I also just want to plug that there was a hit Broadway musical called Legally Blonde, the musical. I don't remember when it came out, but they performed it at my high school my senior year, and I just so happened to be in it because I did theater back then.
Yeah, you were.
I played Nikos, the gay pool boy. That role, well, I was the gay pool boy, so I was kind of typecast.
How do you feel reflecting back?
You know, we can talk about that experience a whole other episode. But I love the musical. I still listen to the soundtrack to this day, and even Mean Girls got turned into a musical. And they're bringing it into a musical movie now.
Musical movie.
With Miss Renee Rapp, who we've talked about on this.
We have talked about
on the pod before.
Yeah.
She's really up and up. Let me go back to the early 2000s film with Lindsay Lohan that started it all.
We have a new student with us. She just moved here from Africa.
Welcome. I'm from Michigan.
Great. I'm 16 until today.
She moves to this high school and kind of gets introduced to the stereotypical American early 2000s high school and kind of finds her way choosing between the two sort of outcast group that are really there for her, and then the Plastics, which is the popular friend group with the iconic Regina George as the head HBIC, so to speak. And yeah, it's just kind of her coming into this high school and finding her way and dealing with the blonde bully who is the antagonist, Regina George. And in this movie, blonde is less pretty and dumb and fashion. It's more like, oh, you're blonde and you're in high school, you're the mean girl, you're the
bitch,
popular girl. You everybody loves you, but they also are afraid of you.
Right,
because
exactly.
You start
You have
trends,
that power.
you end trends, you end lives, you
Exactly.
end figuratively, not literally. And that's what this blonde is the bitch blonde. That's what Mean Girls is.
Yeah, absolutely. I rewatched this for the first time in a while. I think it was more in my rotation growing up. Definitely iconic movie. Every year on October 3rd, we see that same screen cap all over social media, so it's clearly pervaded society.
On October 3rd, he asked me what day it was. It's October 3rd.
So it's obviously a deeply culturally relevant piece of media. However, again, this is my first time rewatching in a while. Oh.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy.
What? There was so much casual racism and homophobia and the R word. That makes many an appearance in this movie.
I'm new. I just moved here from Africa. What? I used to be homeschooled.
Wait, what?
My mom taught me at home.
No, I know what homeschool is. I'm not retarded. So you've actually never been to a real school?
And again, I guess 2004, I get it?
I guess, I don't know do you think when our parents were watching that, were they like, oh my God? Or I guess I would have to ask my parents and they probably had very different opinions. Or do you think it was just the times, like they're just numb to it and now we're just more sensitive or hypersensitive?
Yeah.
Are we too sensitive, Gen Z?
Right. I think that sensitivity question is really interesting. I think that we're just more aware of the power that words have now.
And the power of media.
Oh, absolutely. Because I also rewatched a lot of Friends when Matthew Perry died, rest in peace. And I was watching back and like, again, a lot of casual racism, a lot of fat phobia. And I just think that we are, I think, getting to a place where, you know, people who don't agree with this, they'll say, oh, everything needs to be so PC, so politically correct. But I think, you know, when we talk about whether these movies are problematic or not, it's more so saying, are we kind of reinstating a lot of harmful stereotypes and discussions about, you know, typically in this set of movies about minorities without actually making a statement about it? Because to me in Mean Girls, we just kind of see all these cliques, like the mean black hotties. Like, okay, you have this representation. You have that representation here, but you're not saying anything about it except that this is a group of people.
It's just for humor, for comedy. There's no like deeper message or...
Exactly. So I think we have moved to a place, and me being someone really involved in comedy, I always feel like no comedy should be hitting downwards. Is that the phrase? That's not the phrase. But you know, punching down. And to me, a lot of that is like punching down. You're not really saying anything. You're just kind of classifying things in a very like stereotypical quote unquote way that I don't agree with. And I think that we are moving in a right direction. That was such a long-winded answer to your question.
The next movie is a little bit more inadvertently problematic to some people, but it's my favorite movie out of the bunch today, personally. White Chicks, also from the same year as Mean Girls.
Yeah, 2004.
What's up, money? You got a problem? What you looking at my ass for? Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hold my poodle. Hey, yo, what's up? Y'all got a problem? Y'all want some of this? You want some of this, punk?
Want to tell the folks who maybe haven't seen this film?
Yeah, this cult favorite. I found out looking up, you know, history about the movie. It got really low ratings.
That's so surprising to me because it's genuinely really it's
really
clever.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
I love anything from any people from the Wayans brothers.
Yeah, the
any
Wayans
brothers family. I love
Yeah.
any of their stuff.
Absolutely. So essentially we have, you know, the two undercover FBI agents played by Sean and Marlon Wayans. They go undercover as these two rich white socialites, the Wilson sisters. And so we kind of follow this interesting story of these two black agents pretending to be these two white blonde women. And I also found this movie to be very funny. I don't know why it got... Well, I know why it got a lot of bad ratings. Because people were like, well, this is whiteface. This is reverse racism. And very, very stereotyping of white people. That's what I saw online when I was reading a lot of the critiques.
Well, I like this movie. I think it is actually really, it takes a lot for me to laugh out loud in a movie, but this, actually, what am I saying? I laugh at the littlest things. I don't even know why I tried to hype myself up like that, but it is good to talk about the elephant in the room, the white-faced elephant in the room, because I'm sure that was a lot of, like you said, a lot of people's critiques, and people might say if this was the opposite way around and there were white people dressing up as two black girls in blackface, then it would be a big problem, which, it would be a big problem.
Right,
because
of course.
There's a history of blackface, and there's a history of black people being second-class citizens since the dawn of the country. And so I feel like it's a totally different comparison. I think that in this, I really think it's fine. I view it as like a reclamation of a minstrel show. Like, back in the day, this would just be entertainment. If blackface, they were just making fun of black people in a very degrading way.
Right.
I feel like it's hard to... I didn't see it. I don't think that they were degrading white people and making them think that, oh, like, white people are animals or white people are this or that. Like, it was just like, we'll make fun of the stereotypes.
Yeah.
And, yes, this was another one with, like, the blonde was more of, like, the Elwoods, like, rich, not super smart, but, like, pink, like that type of blonde girl.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't think it would come out today. But it begs the question of, is reverse racism a thing?
I mean, it always comes back to that question, doesn't it? I think that it's very clear, like you said, from the dawn of America, there has been a racial hierarchy. And at the top, it has been white people. And so they have been able to go around with very specific privileges that have always been awarded to them. And minorities, especially Black people, have not been awarded those same privileges. And, you know, like you were saying, they have, with blackface specifically, there's a history of that being a source of comedy and humor and entertainment specifically made for white people, right? So once you enter this conversation understanding that there is a deep historical imbalance between how these two races are treated, I think by pointing out stereotypes of wealthy, rich, white people, that to me is making an observation rather than participating in something that has historically been used against an entire group of people, like blackface has.
It's hard to be racist towards a group that has never been marginalized.
Right. Exactly.
I think that's where I stand. And I think that it's interesting that the way that class kind of comes into this, because I feel like class was less of a thing in Legally Blonde and Mean Girls. Yes, Elle Woods was wealthy, but they were at Harvard. Everybody kind of came from some money, and it wasn't as big.
It wasn't like an identifying.
Yeah. And Mean Girls, I don't Regina George had like a nice
house. She had that huge mansion.
And a nice like convertible, but I feel like it wasn't as prevalent as like this movie was very like class. And it was funny to see, is his name Terry Crews? Terry
Crews. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Latrell,
when
right?
Yeah. He really fell head over heels for one of the FBI agent's dress. I don't remember which one. In whiteface.
Tiffany,
and
I think.
Tiffany. And then at the end, when he found out, when he took the mask off and his whole face shifted, he was like, I'll never forget this line.
Someone get this jigaboo away from me.
Anyways, it's like when some black people have money and they might forget that they're black. But
like trying to shed that identity in order to fit in.
They were at a white party and he was the only black person there.
Right.
Like, you got to do what you got to do to assimilate, I guess, but don't. That was a crazy thing to say.
That's a crazy thing to say. Yeah. Something that I keep thinking about is like when they first arrive to the hotel, they like throw their Louis Vuitton luggage in the hands of one of the employees.
Welcome to the Royal Hamptons Hotel.
The bag's in the car, Jose.
The name is Gomez.
Whatever. Yeah, great. Here, and take baby. Clean out his bag. Poor thing just pooped everywhere. And teach him how to say
You know, I was thinking back on this and I was like, if like a rich brown woman, I don't know, were to do the same thing, is it because she is wealthy that she is just going to be treated in the same way? Like, when you have certain amounts of wealth, I think it was interesting to see in this movie that any type of behavior that you have is kind of accepted. Like, you can be rude to employees and it's fine because you have that wealth, right?
Kind of to your point about like if this was like if this was like if there was actually like a rich black woman there and she was treating people like this, would she get the same pass? I think that in some areas maybe, but I think in general, wealthy people of color with money don't get to follow the same rules that white people with money get to follow, which just shows no matter how hard you work or how much money that you have, you still are not the same and you're not going to get the same privileges. And it reminds me of this story that I have to share about my own life, an anecdote.
Oh, I cannot wait.
I was shopping with my mother when I was in high school in Soho. We were visiting New York and we were shopping at Celine. But we were shopping and she was trying something on in the dressing room, and I've had good style for years. Like, it's not something that I just did. Like,
Since
I've been
you came
dressing
out of
well.
the womb, yeah.
Yeah, I've been a dresser. My mom dressed me very nicely,
Right.
and I just always had that kind of thing. So I've always, even in high school, like, I've always been very careful, like, particular about what I wear. So she was in the dressing room. I was sitting waiting for her, and we were the only ones there. And the sales associate who was helping her comes up to me. And I'm just sitting down minding my own business. I was 17.
Right.
And he goes to me and he's like, so how long have you been working for her? I got to give some context, actually, because my dad is black and my mom is white, which I think I might have mentioned in a previous episode. But I was just there with my mom at the time. And he came up to me and asked me how long I'd been working for her.
Right, because the only thing that makes sense here is that you would be an employee.
You can't be here as a
naturally.
patron.
Right.
You can't be shopping here. You have to be
There's
working
no
for
way.
the person who's shopping here.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, no, I don't have enough money myself to pay for Celine. But I was 17 years old, and I'm a very shy person with strangers, so I was just like, oh no, I'm her son. And he was like, and then he said to me, he said, oh my gosh, you're just dressed so well. I thought you worked in the fashion industry or something. I thought you were her assistant. And I was like, oh no.
Huh.
And
interesting way to try to play
I know,
that
like you're
off,
trying to
sir.
like reel it in, but then
Okay.
to insult me a little bit more. Like,
Yeah, what?
I can't just be dressed nicely. What would you
Right.
like me to wear, sir?
Oh my
You want to
gosh.
illustrate that?
Right.
So that just shows we were two people who were from the same family
Yep.
in the same space, frequented by, I guess, in that neighborhood, or maybe we were on the Upper East Side. It doesn't matter.
Either way, it's going to be
frequented by
a lot of
a lot of rich white people.
Right.
And she was there doing her thing, getting help, and I was there, and I was
And you were
asked
the
if
one
I worked for
questioned.
her. It's not something that I thought of that much in the moment, but I think back on it years later, and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, first, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I do think that that's an important statement that, like, with white people, it's kind of taken as, like, oh, it makes sense that you would be in this space, right? But then when it comes to a person of color, you kind of have to prove why you're there, even if you have already been, like, granted access through, like, hard work or whatever. It's just, it's something that is inherent to whiteness, but for people of color, it's like, oh, so, but how did you do that? Like, you have to kind of stake your own claim to enter these spaces and kind of convince others that you deserve to be there, which I think is a very hard truth of society. In 2024, we can't talk about blondes without bringing up Barbie.
So true.
Barbie, look, I am a Barnard College graduate, and so is Greta Gerwig, who directed Barbie.
Oh.
And Barnard, we have co-opted this film as if she made it for us. So I felt a deep connection to this movie. Did you watch it? Were you into it?
I've seen it twice.
Twice? Oh, I've only seen it once. You beat me with that.
I did think it was a really funny movie. I think it was a really interesting movie as someone who grew up with Barbies.
Yeah,
I
me
played
too.
with those all the time.
Had so many Barbies.
And I thought it was an interesting take. I was curious to kind of see the difference of opinion. Like, not everybody loved it. There were a lot of people our age who were like, America Forever's speech, oh, like, it's so cheesy. Like, oh, like, of course,
I
so
know.
good. But so it was. I didn't have a whole lot of thoughts about, like, the deepness of the movie. I was just like, oh, this is funny.
Yeah.
But
And I do, so I don't know if you're a Letterboxd user. I'm a big Letterboxd user. A lot of my friends, I feel like I'm in a lot of, like, very leftist progressive circles. So people who I think feminism is not new to at all. Like, they, I think, watched this movie and they were like, oh, well, this isn't saying anything deep. This is just saying, you know, women are multidimensional people. And so how is that, how is this a revolutionary film? And I just, like, I understand that critique. Like, this, sure, Barbie doesn't say anything revolutionary about feminism. But in what world was this Warner Brothers movie going to do that? I don't remember how many records it broke, but it broke many.
broke many a record.
And there's no way that this movie has to have entered certain spaces where maybe feminism is new to people. Like, I'm sure that this movie did a lot of work, and sure, not uplifting the really deep theoretical intersectional feminism that a lot of people might be familiar with, but I think it did a lot of good work in introducing younger generations, maybe more conservative homes, to what feminism actually means.
In a very digestible way. I feel like that's important.
Right.
Yeah, good. Slay.
Love that. All right.
Now that we're at the tail end of this episode, should we play a little gamey game?
I think I want to play a game.
Let's play Friend, Marry, Kill with some of the girly pops we've been talking about today.
I love that.
I'll choose 3 characters and give them to you, and you want to choose 3 and give them to me?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
This is
I can remember
rapid
this.
fire.
Yeah.
Friend,
okay, here
marry,
we go.
kill.
All right, here we go.
Katie Heron.
Okay.
Elle Woods. Tiffany, but the black one.
Okay, I think I want to be friends with Tiffany, but the black one. And then I want to marry Elle, because Elle's going to be successful. That girl, she knows
slaying.
business.
If she's anything
she'll
like Reese
provide.
Witherspoon, she's going to be a billionaire.
Exactly. And then I'm going to kill Katie. She annoyed me. I didn't like her. Sorry. Was I not allowed to say that? Okay,
No, that's
here we
good.
go.
Okay, give it to me, give it to me.
Now, okay, here we go.
Okay.
You have Karen, Latrell, Paulette.
I'm going to kill Latrell because before he kills me.
Correct. Good.
He's going to be like, what's this? Just kidding. Okay.
Oh, God.
I'm going to marry Karen and be friends with Paulette. I feel like Paulette's a good friend.
Paulette
and I
would
feel
be
like
such a fun friend.
Karen could tell me what the weather was before I even got out of bed. I didn't have to check my
Exactly.
phone. She's just like, there's a 30% chance that it might already be raining.
Yeah, I love that. Oh,
Good
all
stuff.
right. That was so fun.
That was fun. This was
I
a
like
good
that game.
Good talk.
Good talk.
Good talk.
All right. Well, there we go. That's another episode of Banterly. What are your thoughts? Feel free to let us know at banterly@immigrantlypod.com or on our socials at immigrantlypod or Instagram at immigrantlypodcast on TikTok as well, featuring some behind-the-scenes content.
Banterly is an Immigrantly Media production and will be released weekly on Wednesdays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Banterly is produced by Shay Yu, written by us, the co-hosts, Aditi Misra and Aidan Taylor. The executive producer and editorial review is done by Sadia Khan. Our sound designer and editor is Steve Martin. The Banterly theme music is by Simon Hutchinson. Additional music is by Epidemic Sound. We'll see you guys next week.
Yes, looking forward to it.